Financial Algebra All-Stars. I wanted to take a look at some problems that might help you get started with the 3.3 and 3.4 worksheets. This 3.3 one, I'll tell you right now, it's going to be dealing with that simple interest, which remember, we can get a hold of if we take our principal, multiply it by our rate, and multiply it by the number of times that we're taking that interest. This is slightly different than compound interest, and we'll get into that eventually. But I'll take a look at some of the problems here. Gary deposits $3,700. Ooh, $3,700. That already sounds like a principal amount. That pays 2.15 simple interest. He keeps the money in the account for 3 years. So that sounds like an increment of time. This sounds like my rate. How much interest will he receive after the 3 years? All right, pretty simple with this. We have our principal, which is 3,700, our rate, which I'm going to convert to 0.021 Cinco. This is happening over 3 years, and that should then kick out my interest over that time. Luckily, this problem isn't asking us to get a hold of the balance after 3 years. It's just asking us to get a hold of the interest. So my calculator, I'm going to do that 3,700, 3,700. I'm multiplying it with 0.0215. Oh, I already did this. Okay, there you go. 238.65. And that's what you would want. So how much? 238.65. There we go. How much principal, and I'll kind of hop around. I might just do the odds, but we'll see. How much principal would you have to deposit to earn $700 simple interest in 1.5 years at a rate of 4%? Okay, so this is asking what the principal is if we have this as our interest, which we know, we have this as our time, and we have this as our rate. Okay, so we're solving for P. So I know that this is initially interest equals principal, rate, time. I'm solving for P, so I would want to divide both sides by RT, and that should get me there. So notice, I dodged writing the numbers in, because honestly, that should be what you're letting the calculator take care of. But eventually, this is just going to be 700 over our rate, which is 0.04. And then how can we convert 1.5 years to a fraction? An improper fraction at that. Hopefully you're saying you can rewrite it to just 3/2. Okay, and then let your calculator take care of the rest. So I'll take a look at this one on my calculator. I'm taking a fraction of 700, as long as it lets me. Doing 700, I'm dividing it with 0.04, 0.04, multiplying that with 3/2. Make sure to use parentheses to make that happen. So this is approximately $11,666. $666. And how much do we have to round? No, we don't. 67 cents. So there you go. That's how much principal you would need to make that happen. Does that sound about right? Well, let's see. We could check our work. If we did 11,066.67, if we multiplied it by 0.04 and then 3/2. Let's just ponder this just so that we check our work. So if we multiply this with 0.04, multiply that with parentheses 3/2, 700, boom, there you go. It's definitely going to work. Dylan has a bank account. Yeah, in his bank account. Simple interest is 3.2. balance is 1,766. How long will it take for the amount in the account to grow to $2,000? Okay, round to the nearest year. Interesting. Okay, so we have this as our rate. We have this as our principal. We have this not as the interest. So this is asking how long it's going to take for this to be the balance, which recall is not interest. So please take note of that. How long will it take? So this is referencing time, which we don't know. So let's see, we have quite a bit of work here. Okay. Well, let's think. If we were going to get a hold of our interest, the interest, we don't necessarily know it, but we know that if we're starting at 1766 and we're ending at 2000, our interest should be equal to the difference, which would be 2000 minus 1766. So what? That's 434, 234. So this problem is really asking how long is it going to take until we get $234 of interest. Okay. So now we have I. And recall that we have I equals P R T. We know P. We know our rate's 0.032. We know our interest is 234. So we'd really just take our interest divided by PR. I wish I was in PR. The PR weather would be great. PR's canceled. Our time is going to be our interest over PR. So this should be 234 and then dividing it by our principal, which is 1766. Great year. Then that's multiplying with our rate of 0.032. So if we're rounding this to the nearest year, this should be about 4 years. So that should help. So T is approximately 4 years. There you go. So notice it wasn't just a quick plug and chug. You had to really think this out. Like, all right, if I'm ending at 2000, but I'm starting with this, how much interest am I really accruing to make that work? Simple interest. That one's boring and very straightforward. This one just keeps like building off of the year, which should be similar to your textbook stuff. A is pretty straightforward. B is straightforward. The one thing I would recommend is taking fractions here. So instead of just taking 15 months, I would do 15 over 12 for your increment of time. I think that's a really big deal where I see students trip up. 4 years, you would just use T is 4. I should note here that this is talking about T. So this would be 1 months. You're dividing by 12. This would be when T is 3. This would be 100 out of the 365 days. So that should be your fraction. Then you get a little bit of a variable setup here, which is okay. So you might just need to get one of them algebraically. That's totally okay. What else? Simple interest. X dollars earned in 13 months at a rate of R. Okay, let's do this one. A little bit of variables. So interest is I. X dollars is your principal. This principal we know. Rate of time is 13 over 12. So T you know. And your rate is R. All right, it's fine. So you have X. You have 13 over 12 for time. And your rate is R. If you want to simplify this to 13 XR over 12. That would be your interest. And so they're trying to go with the idea that really the numbers don't matter. It really comes down to if you know how to manipulate the equation to make it work. How long would $100,000 take to double at a simple interest rate of 8%? So if it was doubled, well, really, this is asking us how long is it going to take to get $100,000 in interest? Because if it's doubling, you're starting with the 100K and your interest rate's 0.08, but it's really coming down to time, which you don't know. So divide both sides by this. And move on with your life. You'll soon see that the 100,000 cancels and you're just left with 1 over 0.08. So t equals 1 over 0.08. And I'll entertain this. I'll actually use the calculator for it. I'm not above it. So 1 divided by 0.08, approximately 12.5 years. Wow, I wish my interest rates were that. So approximately 12.5 years. There you go. If you need any more, let me know.